So good afternoon and welcome to the Connected World 2013 here at IBC. I am delighted to have a very distinguished guest with me this afternoon, Mr. Kevin Gage, the Executive Vice President and CTO of NAB, including the NAB Futures Park Labs, NAB Labs Futures Park.
Yes.
It's a long title, forgive me. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much for having me by today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming in. So you've come into the IBC show to obviously see what's happening here, but really what I want to talk about is what is happening in the NAB Labs, because you are in the heart of exciting, innovative developments that are not available commercially yet, that you're researching and seeing where those trends and technologies are going. And for me, that is, okay, what's next? What's beyond what we're actually maybe even seeing here at the show? So it's great to get that insight from you this morning as to what is exciting you at the moment that maybe you're not even seeing here yet, but we definitely will be seeing and talking about at NAB.
Well, I think, so NAB Labs I started it up about 2 years ago,
Okay.
and with an extension of that, we have a number of things that we're trying to do. One is to push innovation within the industry, incubate innovation in the industry, and then educate on what we can do in the broadcast spectrum. And so with NAB Labs, where we're pushing things is that how do we fit in the whole mesh of networks?
Yeah.
We're not a standalone technology. We work with all the other technologies, and that's where I think you're going to be seeing some very exciting things happening, not only beginning at the end of this year in the FM space, where we're working on FM hybrid radio, but also in the television space as we move forward with new technologies to be able to broadcast to the consumer.
Excellent, because at NAB show this year, you already had Cisco, who have an amazing end-to-end solution, really showing an immersive, dynamic, interactive experience within the Future Zone. But you also had NHK, who are demoing 8K as well.
Oh yeah, that was very wonderful. It was the first time we actually were seeing live a broadcast of 8K, and if you go to the NHK booth today, you can see that they've already taken what we've done at NAB show and now even compressed it even further along, and we fully expect by the NAB show that'll move even that much further along. And that's the really wonderful thing at the time that we're in within technology in the broadcast space, is that technology is accelerating. And so the things that you see today are going to be built upon, and you're going to see really exciting and for stuff going on in the future.
So I've been going to the NAB show for probably 17, 18 years, which I know is a mere babe as opposed to some that have been going 40, 50 years. But I remember seeing an interview with yourself, because you've been with NAB Labs, as you said, nearly 2 years now. The first time you went to NAB, and I can really empathize with just the energy and drive that was there at the show then, and just how much that has continued. But in terms of what's happening now is phenomenal, as you say, given the speed of technology and really the changes in the experience that consumers are able to have. What do you think is the next big thing in terms of really getting a dynamic experience to work in things that we haven't yet seen demoed or involved, either here or previously discussed?
Again, as I think, as I said, when I first came to NAB, the NAB show, coming out of the startup space of Hollywood, it was like a kid going into a candy shop. It was it was incredible. The energy was really high. In the last couple of years, that energy is ramping up again, because everybody is finally realizing there is change in our industry. We are innovating. We can do a lot of really wonderful things. And so you're starting to see these new types of ways in which broadcasters can reach out to their audience and be able to interact with them. And that's something that our broadcasters haven't been able to do. And I think you're going to see more and more of that at the NAB show this year, where you're going to see that broadcasting is actually this tactile experience. It's not just a sit-down passive experience anymore.
Absolutely. Consumers and viewers are expecting to be able to see literally something on a mobile, on a tablet, in their car, come back to their home. The whole thing is joined up and is working. Do you think broadcasters, outside of the biggies, do you think broadcasters are really starting to embrace the commercial opportunities that enables from a much more targeting both programming and advertising perspective?
I think what we're at is that point in time in which everybody is really beginning to understand what's the realm of the possible. And so you're seeing all kinds of experimentation, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah.
You want experimentation, and everybody learns off of each other what's
Yeah.
going on and what's becoming sticky with your audience.
Yeah.
And this is a wonderful time. It's a giant petri dish that
Yeah.
everybody is playing in and having
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. So at the NAB, it's obviously really important that you're gaining that whole perspective and creating even more awareness of innovation and creation of how to really manage a consumer experience that is the most compelling beyond just the content that is being produced by the broadcasters and program owners.
Absolutely. At NAB Labs and the NAB Labs technology community committees that we have, we're really we're really fostering this type of dialogue.
Yeah.
So what is the realm of the possible? What are the potential visions out there? Let's start talking about it and see what we can do.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that excitement come back up again,
Yeah.
which is similar to the excitement when the first time I went into NAB.
Absolutely, absolutely. If we flip that around a little bit, from a consumer perspective and a consumer of content, I mean, what do you think consumers are still getting frustrated with in terms of being able to enjoy or enable what they expect should happen? Well, what kind of things do you think are still bugging them at the moment that we're not quite as an industry managing?
Well, I don't know if there's something that's bugging them. I think the consumers are also trying to sort out all these different options that are out there. I came, one part of my life I was in the music industry, and we used to have a saying that consumers love choice, but they love curated choice.
Yes.
And so I think that's what you're getting this
Yeah.
feedback loop between the consumer
Yeah.
and the businesses to find out, okay, what is really that
Yeah.
sweet spot?
Absolutely.
And so I think, again, to me, that's a very wonderful dialogue
Yeah.
because that's not necessarily a dialogue we were in a little while ago.
Absolutely, because consumers are driving that demand, but sometimes they don't quite know what that demand exactly is.
You're right, and
Yeah.
they're gonna go back to the trusted folks that they come to know and trust, and that's your local broadcasters.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that the role of local broadcasters, the role of broadcasting in general, is still incredibly responsible in terms of enabling that interactivity, that community environment to work. It isn't something that's taken away by anybody who can just produce some content and put it up over here. There has to be that integration of brand, of trust, of recognition of what is actually important to what the consumer wants to see, listen, and will respond to.
Yeah, especially in the local broadcasting space, because in the local broadcasting space, which is where we excel, it's about community and it's about the sense of community. And especially when you get into the smaller and medium markets, that sense of community and that need to be able to be connected is even more important.
Yes.
And so enabling those small medium markets to be able to do this, to be able to participate in this is again one of the goals of the NAB Labs.
Absolutely. So we have the pleasure of Gordon Smith, your CEO and president, in the studio a couple of days ago. And he quite rightly said, and I saw this in his speech at NAB in his keynote this year, that the NAB was becoming a house of engagement and positioning themselves as a house of engagement with all of the various players within that. And in fact, I think another quote was, "Without a clear vision, the people will perish." What is the vision of NAB Labs as part of that, obviously, to complement and to sustain that overall bigger picture? But in terms of future technologies, what is the vision and goal of NAB Labs going forward?
Right. So to amplify what Gordon is saying, we see ourselves as part of a larger community. Right, so we see us interacting and connecting with the rest of the industries that are out there. From NAB Labs, we're taking that forward on a technology standpoint. So it's not exclusionary to other technologies; it's inclusion.
Absolutely.
And we want to include these other technologies. And how do you take best advantage of what our platform can provide and what other platforms can provide? Because at the end of the day, to your earlier question about the consumer, they'll get frustrated if there are these artificial walls that are being put up.
Absolutely.
And we don't want artificial walls. We want to work with them, and we want to be able to provide the consumer the best experience.
I think you have some very exciting opportunities and obviously partnerships that are happening in the labs area, which I'm looking forward to coming and seeing at the Futures Park at NAB Show in 2014. Kevin, thank you for your time dropping by and telling us exactly how you're seeing things, and again, that energy and excitement that NAB Labs truly bring. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you very much.